Imagine a future, like, where this immersive tech stuff isn't just, a gimmick, but actually part of how we live and work,
Hmm.
where digital things just blend into your room, changing how you watch films, or even, like, work on a project together. We're taking spatial computing, and wow, it's moving fast. Now, when a giant like Apple launches something like the Vision Pro, calls it the future, right? Yeah, everyone pays attention. But what happens when that big launch, despite all the hype, just doesn't quite connect? How does Apple, a company known for setting trends, kind of pivot and, well, try to rewrite the story? That's exactly what we're digging into today, Apple's rumored Vision Air, and its big goal really is to rewrite the story of the Vision Pro. Okay, let's unpack this. Our mission here is to figure out what Vision Air actually is, why it's supposedly coming now,
Hmm.
and what it all means for, well, for you listening, whether you're a creator, a consumer, or just trying to grasp what's next in tech.
And just to set the scene a bit, when Vision Pro first came out, the hype was, immense. It was billed as the future of immersive cinema. You could really feel the buzz. But pretty quickly, the reality started to look a little different. Reports started surfacing almost right away that despite the cool tech, it was struggling to find, a mainstream footing. It just didn't seem to click beyond those really keen early adopters. And that's why Visionaire feels so important now. It seems like a direct answer to those early struggles.
Okay, so let's get into the details then. What exactly went wrong with Vision Pro? Because, on paper, it sounded amazing. But like you said, reality painted a different picture. The sources we looked at went from revolutionary future talk to some very practical user problems pretty fast.
Yeah, they did. The analysis really points to a few key things that made it tough for Vision Pro to get broad acceptance. First off, and maybe the biggest hurdle right out of the gate, was the high cost. $3,499. That basically priced itself into a corner. It wasn't just premium, it was pure luxury territory. Way out of reach for most people who might have been curious. Think about it, that's like, what, 3 or 4 high-end
Yeah,
iPhones?
that's a huge barrier. But even for the folks who could splash out that cash, there were other roadblocks, right?
Oh, absolutely. Price was just the start. There was the very real issue of its bulky weight. The headset, packed with all that tech, was just heavy, uncomfortable for wearing it for long periods. Imagine strapping on something that size for hours. It became a real factor. And maybe the biggest thing, a lack of must-have experiences.
Mm.
People just weren't finding those killer apps, those reasons to keep putting it on day after day. It didn't really slot into their daily lives or offer entertainment that truly beat, just using a normal screen. One source mentioned an early adopter, a huge Apple fan, saying they just couldn't find enough truly compelling stuff to do with it regularly. Felt more like a tech demo, not a tool. And that led straight to the really worrying feedback, the discomfort and returns. Sources specifically mentioned eye strain and headache. These were apparently major reasons why even Apple's most loyal customers were sending their Vision Pros back.
Eye strain and headaches. That's rough,
Yeah.
especially for a device designed for immersion. It's like you buy this amazing thing and it physically hurts to use it after a while. That's more than just disappointing.
It's exactly.
When your biggest fans, the people who usually buy everything, are returning it because it's uncomfortable, that's a huge red flag.
It signals a fundamental problem with the user experience. Apple had to notice that.
So, Visionaire. Is this Apple's big answer? A giant leap, like
Yeah.
they say, or maybe more of a strategic course correction?
I'd say it's definitely strategic course correction, very deliberately targeting those pain points. Vision Air sounds like it's engineered specifically to fix what went wrong with the Pro. Reports suggest a much lighter design. They're talking less than 500 grams. Now, the Vision Pro was, over 600 grams? So that's a noticeable difference. It's clearly aimed at making it comfortable for those long sessions, which was a big complaint before.
Under 500 grams, yeah, that's a big deal for comfort. But how are they doing that? Are they compromising on that premium Apple feel? Sources mention different materials.
That's right. To get that weight down, they're supposedly swapping the titanium and glass for magnesium alloy and plastic. Uh, Now, this isn't just about weight, it affects cost, probably durability too. The goal seems to be cutting weight without sacrificing durability, which you'd need for something meant for everyday use. But yeah, it does raise the question of how people will react to less premium materials. It feels more practical.
Okay, lighter, different materials.
Yeah.
Makes sense. But now, here's where it gets really interesting. The thing that could genuinely change the game. We're talking about the price tag.
Ah, yes, the rumored new price strategy. And this could be huge. Vision Air is apparently rumored to cost nearly half the Vision Pro, a starting price around $700 and $750. That's not a small price cut. It's a total repositioning. It aims to make the headset far more approachable for a wide audience, moving it out of that luxury experiment category and more towards regular consumer electronics. It's a clear signal they want spatial computing to be for more people, not just the wealthy enthusiasts. They learned that price was a major wall.
And it's smart competitively too, isn't it? Like our sources say, Apple cannot afford to watch copycats capture the entry-level market while their main thing is so expensive. How big a risk is that entry-level market for Apple right now? What happens if they don't grab a piece of it?
The risk is pretty significant, actually. Apple usually plays at the high end, but for new tech like this, adoption often starts lower down the price ladder. If they don't have a more affordable option, they could lose a lot of ground to competitors who are already jumping into that space. It's not just about lost sales today, it's about losing influence, losing the chance to define what spatial computing even means to the average person. They could end up looking like an expensive outlier instead of the leader.
Okay, so cut the price, change the materials, make it accessible. But is the hardware enough? What about the bigger picture, the Apple ecosystem? How does that play into the Vision Air plan?
Right. The role of the ecosystem is absolutely critical for Apple here. Sources suggest Vision Air might use an A-series chip, like in iPhones, instead of the Mac Class M series that was in the Vision Pro. Now, this isn't just about saving money on parts. It changes what the device is. The M series is powerful, more like a computer chip, letting the Vision Pro do a lot on its own. The A-series is more about efficiency, battery life, and working really closely with another device, like your phone. It points towards a different kind of experience, maybe lighter, maybe longer battery, and definitely designed to work smoothly with your existing Apple stuff.
So less like a standalone computer on your face and more like an accessory for your iPhone. What does that closer bond really mean?
Pretty much. This chip choice seems designed to create that closer bond with the iPhone, making Vision Air a natural companion device for millions of iPhone users. Maybe it offloads some tasks to the phone, maybe the setup is easier, maybe content sharing is seamless. And what's really interesting here is how that tight integration could seriously push more third-party support. If developers see a huge potential audience that's already plugged into the ecosystem via their iPhone, that's a massive incentive to build apps. It lowers the barrier.
And it's not like Apple's making these moves in a vacuum, right? The competition isn't just sitting back. Our sources show others are already getting involved.
Oh, definitely not. We're seeing other companies, especially traditional camera makers, eyeing this space very closely, like Canon's strategic move to integrate with Vision Pro for spatial video. That shows established players see potential in these immersive formats. They want in on content creation.
So they're collaborating on one side, but also competing directly on the other.
It seems like it. It's a bit of both. That Canon AR VR glasses patent mentioned in the sources, it clearly shows they're also working on their own lightweight mass market alternatives. They're not just playing with Apple, they're planning their own plays too. And if you look at the bigger picture, you see things like the Vivo Vision, described as a Chinese clone of Apple Vision Pro. That highlights the pressure Apple's under, especially at lower price points. These clones might not be as polished, but they get the concept out there cheaper. It just reinforces why Vision Air needs that lower price. Apple can't afford to look too expensive or too niche.
Wow, okay, so it sounds like a really tricky balancing act for Apple. It's not just about getting the hardware right. Can they actually get developers excited enough to make great content while they're tweaking the hardware and price? What does it really take to lead in this space now?
It takes, well, agility. And a really clear story. Apple usually keeps tight control, but here they might need to be a bit more open to encourage developers. They need those must-have experiences that the first Vision Pro lacked. It's about building a platform,
Yeah.
not just selling a gadget.
And beyond all the tech specs and ecosystem stuff, there's this other huge challenge our sources point to, perception. That one opinion piece, Apple has just invented Zombieland, really captured that kind of creepy image, didn't it? Disconnected people walking around with headsets. That's a hard image to overcome.
It really is. And that's why Vision Air cannot simply be a slimmer Vision Pro. It has a massive job to do. It needs to completely reshape the narrative. It has to get past that Zombieland idea and show people clearly how this tech actually enhances things, watching movies, being productive, creating stuff. It really raises that question. Can Apple convinced us that wearing these things adds real value, that it connects us more rather than isolates us. For movies, it needs to be better than a TV. For work, it needs to feel natural. For creating, it needs to unlock something new. It has to prove its worth beyond just being novel.
The stakes feel incredibly high based on our sources. If Apple pulls this off, if Visionaire delivers on comfort, value, and fixes that perception issue, it could genuinely push immersive media from being this, niche hobby into a mainstream experience, a whole new chapter for computing.
Yes.
But if it doesn't reshape that perception, if it's still uncomfortable or lacks compelling uses, it risks being just another attempt to solve a problem audiences never asked to fix. That's a lot riding on this next generation. So what does this all boil down to for you listening to this?
Well, as we've kind of walked through today, Apple's Vision Air looks like a really big strategic shift, not just tweaks. It's about tackling the Vision Pro's big misses head on, making it lighter, slashing that price, and weaving it tighter into the whole Apple ecosystem to make it feel, hopefully, more seamless and everyday.
Right. And all these, they're not just about selling a new product. It feels like Apple's trying hard to pull spatial computing out of the lab and into the everyday lives of creators and consumers alike. They really want this powerful tech to become a natural part of how we all deal with digital stuff and the world around us.
But the big question, the one our sources leave us with, is this. Will Visionaire finally unlock the cinematic future promised by its predecessor, or will it repeat the missteps of the Vision Pro?
It's a fascinating moment, and whatever happens will definitely shape where immersive tech goes next. What do you think? Does Apple have the right strategy this time? Something to think about. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.